Hi guys, Narked Tom here again, reacting to a scuba diving accident video. So let's see what happens this time on these dives. Today we're going to be reacting to the video Diving Accident at the Blue Hole of Dahab with Tariq Omar, which a little bit worried for this kind of video because if you don't know guys, the Blue Hole has a bit of a reputation as a dive site. It's also referred to as a diving cemetery. So this could be a pretty ropey video. Typically, by the way, if anyone's curious, it is one of those dive sites where technical diving happens. It's deep dives and it's through these kind of cavern systems over there, which is what people get stuck under, and that's why they die. So I'm kind of worried what could be here in this video. I did quickly read the description, by the way. I'll just go over that again right now, just so you can see it as well, because there's some information, just so I'm not going completely blind into the video. But it just says first about like please watch out. Tariq Omar, he is a TDI instructor. His number is 5060 Tech Tribe Dahab Shams Dive Center. Again, that might not be relevant because this is a 5-year-old video, so he might not even be working there. He might not even have his license because it sounds like they're pushing the blame onto him. But personally, from my experience, TDI, which stands for Tech Dives International, is a great dive school. So I don't think it's anything to do with dive school. Might just be a cowboy instructor, but we'll have to see. But also might not just be purely on the diver here. Like, let's be real, sometimes it's not the instructor's fault solely, it's a shared one between the divers and the instructor. Because when it comes down to diving accidents, it usually is from people making mistakes and miscalculations. It's human error which causes them to happen, and that's what we're going to go over in the video, if this accident could be avoided or not. And not to be like mean to the divers, but just have it go over with a critical lens and explain, could this have been avoided? But continuing just reading the description really quickly. This is a technical dive at the Blue Hole in Dahab, which, as I say, is quite common in this dive site. But obviously, technical diver does typically mean that it's going to be more experienced divers doing this sort of thing. So it should be quite more serious, hopefully. So we shouldn't see any silly mistakes. So it's going to be a bit more breakdown. It is going to be beyond my scope typically, by the way, as an instructor. I'm an open water instructor. I have done technical dives, but I'm not a technical dive instructor. So I should be able to still figure out things, what's going wrong here, but I'm not like doing this as an instructor level, just to make this kind of clear and disclaim that one quickly. So Captain Tariq Omar will take you anywhere, just pay. I respect the hustle. And apparently you don't need to be a professional diver or even have any knowledge of the gases or even your own equipment. So let's just break that down. You don't have to be a professional scuba diver to do tech dives, so that is completely fine. You could be advanced or rescue. You don't actually have to be a dive master level or beyond to do it. It's just you've gone off in a different direction there. When it comes down to being a dive master instructor, that's usually to help people out in the world of scuba diving and actually do it rather than actually being a good diver. Typically it does come hand in hand because you've got more diving experience though, so that's why typically it is dive masters, instructors and people of that kind of scope or higher who do technical dives, just because they have that level of training and that enthusiasm for diving, but it's not a requirement. But the one requirement, which is one of the first things you get taught when it comes to technical diving, is having knowledge about gases. It's really important to know your gases, not just like to a nitrox level in recreational diving, but in tech diving, there are certain gas blends you'll be working with and you have to swap to them at certain stages of the dive. And so put simply, if the oxygen blend is too high in that gas, at certain depths, it becomes toxic to breathe, of course you have convulsion and all sorts of problems, and can often lead to drowning and a fatal accident. So it's very important to know about this sort of stuff. So a bit concerned by that part. And not having your own equipment, that's kind of a 50-50 one. Honestly, most people at this kind of level will have their own equipment, so it actually is a bit more uncommon who are tech divers. But you can obviously get equipment, especially if it's on a course as well. If you're entering the world of tech diving, it's not like you won't have your own equipment. Again, you might travel there, you haven't bought all your equipment for whatever reason. So I don't think that's such a red flag. The main red flag is that he says you don't have to have gas knowledge, which you really should do if you're doing tech dive. You should have done courses, you should work your way up and actually have a good grounding of why it's so important to know when to change glasses and how to do so sufficiently and efficiently. The planned depth was 100 meters. That's steep. So just for the Americans, that's about 330 feet roughly. So a seriously deep dive. This is not a novice dive at all. This is very good. You have to have a good level of experience to be a tech diver going to 100 meters. But we stopped at 67. You'll see why. never good to like see that on a tech dive. It's very important to follow the plan. So the fact that they've veered off it is never a good thing. The saying goes, plan the dive, dive the plan. And that's really what they should have done in this scenario. Obviously being more conservative and adjusting the plan in a more conservative way is obviously good. But when it comes to tech dives, you should be a lot more stricter on following that plan. And even write it down, you have like a manual version, not just solely relying on the computer in case it breaks, or even your backup computer breaking, because you might have 2 computers. So it's always a bit bad sign when it's obviously you've gone off to the plan, and sometimes in that situation you just start to think about just end the dive because you've gone off plan. It's really important to follow that plan when tech dive. You do everything to the letter. You go to a certain depth for a certain amount of time, then ascend to a certain depth for a certain amount of time. It is literally like an instruction manual and you're following it on a tech dive. From my own experience, I don't recommend Tarek Omar at all to anyone. Please take care. He even took money for technical courses and guided dives from divers from here in Egypt and never showed up. What a stand-up guy. I don't know if this is all true. I'd say we'll find out. It seems like this guy's putting a lot of blame on Tarek, but we could be completely getting the wrong idea from it. Anyway, we're going to watch the video. I'm going to do this video in a slightly different format to how I normally do it. I'm just going to watch it all the way through with no pausing and just commentate through it. And at the end, we'll go over some critical points in the video, which I want to expand on if there is those kind of situations. So that said and get out of the way, let's jump into the video. Okay, so on the surface, going to start the descent. So there's one, I'm guessing, is he part of the group? Because he's a bit further away, but it's not too bad. But ideally be facing each other when you start your descent, make sure everyone's like happy and going down okay. But we'll see. It's a bit worrying that he's taking a bit longer to go on surface. I'm curious where the camera is. Is it a body cam or head cam? I guess we'll see. But they're going down. They're a little bit further apart, but not terribly far. Okay. If we get into position a bit. Oh, that was a smooth transition. Using the bubbles to like change transition, that's very smooth. I like that. Okay, I guess it's a head cam because of the bubbles like covering our vision. So if the camera's here and you're breathing it, the bubbles covering it. Okay, he's very close to the wall there. Not ideal. Wait a second, that's yellow. Is that connecting to? Oh my god, he's breathing off the wrong tank. Yeah, he's realised. So he's breathing off a higher gas mix tank, not the actual main tanks here. And as I said before, oxygen can become toxic at certain depths. So you should not be breathing off that tank. So this is very sketchy. He needs to swap that immediately. I'm assuming that might be the instructor. Oh, good transition again, but the instructor looks quite far away if that's the instructor. I'm guessing these are 2 clients. We're looking at from a client view and this guy. He needs to swap that immediately though. That's if he gets deeper and deeper and he gets to a depth where that's no longer non-toxic, he could be in a lot of danger. This is really scary. I don't think he's realised either. Remember, look at something. Was that confused okay then? Oh dear. He's still on that though. He needs to swap off that if they're descending because that will eventually become toxic. Because I got 2 tanks, these 2 here, it might be the like deeper one you can go deeper with, and the other one's like for the shallow, the very high oxygen blend. But that's not good at all. Hopefully he realises. I think that shouting is saying it. He's aware. He needs to get off that tank. He needs to get back on. Yeah, you can see it there. It's like his around his neck. Is he realised he's going to help pass? Either give him his alternate or get him to have his other one. The instructor's just nowhere to be seen. That wristlet, by the way, I think that's because his computer's on the inside of his wrist. So he's doing it that way. This is so sketch. He needs to change it. He needs to swap that off that cylinder and go on to his main air source. Oh, what's a blend? Can't see properly there. Just for reference, by the way, it should be easy to view that blend for divers in your party. It shouldn't be below, it should be on the side, which is a new thing with the stages. That way you can see, so anyone can spot what you're breathing off at all times. If they go to the side of you, you can see it. Okay, it's finally swapped, which is good. See, because it's below, because it's down there, I can't see what the blend is. It should ideally be on the side so you know what that blend is. and then people know what depth. So in bold it have the percentage, but also the max depth of it. And at all times people know you're on the right tank, essentially, for the dive. But yeah, it should ideally be on that side here. We can see the blend, but because it's below, it's really awkward. He's also very, very vertical, which isn't good. He's looking like a very novice diver. So the fact they're meant to be going down to 100 meters is very sketch. He's descending, he's descending. He's gonna hit the wall, isn't he, if he's not careful. Oh, he might save it. No, he's drifting, he's drifting. He's giving OKs. That's wild. That's actually wild. No, don't kick the reef. Yeah, I'll be shouting to him. Oh no, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. Contact. Yeah. Honestly, like, this guy looks out his depth. Leave me alone. Just give me a minute, bro. Give me a. He's still descending. He's still descending. At least he's not any longer on that cylinder. Yeah. Pull him off. Even grab his, like, yeah. Well, I wouldn't use the LPI per se, because that's not the best, but if you can grab, like, the harness, that'd be easy to maneuver him. And even better if you can get behind and use the manifold. But, yeah. Always add in some air to it. Why is that beeping? Oh, he's not on a tech computer. I think that's a recreational computer. So, if you're on a recreational computer, the instructor's just oblivious. Oh my god. But a recreational computer, by the way, it's not designed to go this deep and also go beyond into deco. So when it starts to do that, it just beeps. So until he turns that computer off, it's going to keep beeping. So you're going to have a headache by that dive that just keep beeping and beeping and beeping. And after the dive as well, it's going to be locked out, that computer will. It won't be usable for the next few days because it's going to be like you've gone way beyond your limits. On top of that as well, it's not going to be able to be programmed with different gas blends, so you actually won't be able to swap it over when you change blends. So it won't know how to want to do stops either. So he's going to have to copy his buddies on what their stop time is, which is really sketchy. Okay, he's finally looking at his air gauge. Pressure gauge even, sorry. Did he just say 50 and then currents? Ignoring the current bit, 50. How has he got so low on air so quickly when he's like been breathing off the other cylinder? Oh my gosh. And he's checking his air because he keeps moving his wrist to look at it. He's sat down again. Okay. He's literally that meme of the guy, I'm fine, when he's in a room full of fire. Everything's burning around him, but it's fine, I'm fine. He just is so out of his depth, like, both literally and just mentally. He just is not ready for this type of diving. He looks confused, he doesn't know what's going on. He's probably quite heavily narked as well right now. The instructor's doing nothing though. I get why he's frustrated. The instructor's done literally nothing this whole dive. Yeah, it's definitely that computer bleeping, and it's not a tech one. Like, you can see on the instructor, it's more of a tech kind of. Oh, it's a slate there. The slate's kind of useless when you've gone off track this bad. Oh, dear. It's mostly the guy's just not ready for this kind of dive. You shouldn't just take a head shake. I would be the same, but the guy's just not ready for this kind of dive. You can see from his body position being so vertical, his lack of awareness and stuff. The fact he doesn't understand the seriousness of breathing off that cylinder. And the instructor's just doing nothing. Like, I'd be telling, we need to end this dive right now. This is just such a show. It's a mess right now. Excuse my language, by the way, there, but it is one of those dives this is just jacked from the start, and it needs to just end it, give a stern debrief, and then pick yourself up and do a better dive after. But, my gosh. I love his transitions though. The bubble transitions are very smooth. So he's away from the group again. He's a bit higher as well right now. So yeah, he's deflating. I was thinking so I'm not too far away from the wall. He needs to get close to the wall. And also be closer to the group. He's checking his air again. Or pressure, sorry. The head shake. Wow. That was wild. It's just one of those things where, like, when people go take dives off with experienced divers, that's the reason. There's just a lot. This guy just clearly, he looks very like open water. I wouldn't say DSD. He knew a bit more than a DSD diver, but he's about very open water level, not really knowing what's going on, not understanding what's probably doing, not in proper technique. If we go back to like the part where you see him like there, he's very vertical. not away, he's off on the wrong cylinder. I thought his buddy's going to catch that, by the way, because he's looking at the cylinder there. But he's just not looking good. His buoyancy is all over the place. 1 minute he's sinking, 1 minute he's like floating up. Which again, with tech diving, it's very important to hold your depths and be in control of the depths at all times. The instructor's completely not doing anything. I don't get what the instructor was even doing this whole dive. It's almost like he's not even part of the group. So I felt really bad for the other diver having to look after him. Thankfully, again, tech divers are pretty good. So if this guy who's recording is pretty solid, he's actually in somewhat safer hands than just the average buddy. But it's not what you want to do if you're like going for a dive as a client. It's not good. But how long he's breathing on the wrong cylinder for is wild to me. That's actually just wild. Because if they got too deep, as I say, if he's on a certain percentage where at a certain cut-off point it now becomes toxic, he could have been in serious danger. Really, really messy dive. Could have gone very wrong though. It's not. I wouldn't say this is technically an accident per se. It's just a mess of a dive, and it just comes down to this guy's not ready for this kind of dive. It's been clearly sold to him under different circumstances, and like, oh, it's fine. You don't need to be a tech diver for it, and that's just it's wrong. It's completely wrong. I just love the fact that throughout the whole dive he keeps giving these okay signals. He just puts his hand away there like, no, you're okay if you swap onto this one. You just swap these regulators over. But again, just the fact he keeps giving okays and not problems. I would say partly I would be trying to like signal problem to the instructor and like get him to solve it instead of freaking me. But I guess you would step in still. But the instructor's really just oblivious, which is very concerning, especially on a dive site which is known as the diver cemetery, where people have died. Thankfully, they're just gone deep. They're not in any of the cam systems with like overhangs and stuff blocking their exits. Because I think this guy would be in serious danger if he was doing that kind of dive. But from this kind of dive, it's clearly good that they called off early. Let's go again, by the way, about the computer. The computer being a recreational one, it's freaking out because it's gone beyond the standard like 40 meters max. I don't know what the cutoff is on that specific computer, but when you go beyond that depth limit, they start freaking out. When you go beyond your NDLs, it starts freaking out and just keeps bleeping and bleeping and bleeping until like the battery runs out. I guess it's going to smash the battery. But I won't turn off that bleeping won't, which is a problem. But on top of that as well, it's not really good because once you start to do your sense, so once you get to like a certain depth, let's say 30 meters or something, maybe shallow, deeper than that actually with this kind of dive going to 100 meters. Once you get to that, you go to swap your air to your first tank. You're going to have to also program the computer to go to the next one. So you have saved gas blends for what you're going to be using on the dive. You swap it over to that blend, and then the computer knows how long to do the stops for as well, accurately. But because this computer is a recreational one, you can't do that. So you have to go purely off what your buddies are doing. But as you can see from this dive, he's up and down all over the place. So it's actually not very useful because his actual times for the stops could be longer potentially because he's not following exactly the same profile as their dives are. He's not following the exact same profile as the other divers. And it's very important that you are following that plan very strictly on the stops. You're not cutting them short or whatnot. And if you take longer, it just means that other stops further down the line can take longer as well. Time is the biggest factor to keep in mind with tech dives. So it's just a lot. There's actually quite a lot more knowledge involved with technical dives. When you have that knowledge and when you know how to execute it properly though, you are safe. But when you like this kind of guy, who hasn't got the knowledge and it looks very uncomfortable generally, it becomes a very, very hazardous dive and it's just not okay for him to be in this scenario. Just a lack of awareness, and I don't think I've seen him really in trim except for the very start when he was descending. Yeah, it's not even perfect trim, it's kind of like skew with a bit. Yeah. It's just very unfortunate. This guy shouldn't be on the dive. The instructor should have been taking a lot more responsibility, and this dive should have been called off a lot sooner. But thankfully, it looks like no one got hurt during this dive, so that's the positive. I hope this just kind of makes it. If you're going to have one takeaway from this video, it's that you should basically do your tech diving courses with a good instructor, someone you trust who's certified other tech divers, and then do tech dives after doing that, and don't just try and have a shortcut of going, oh, I can give a tech dive a go, it's fine. you'll have the same kind of issue with this guy. But yeah, thankfully, it looks like no one was hurt. If you think I missed anything by the way in the video, feel free to comment down below. If you enjoyed the video as well, give it a like. And if you want to see more from myself, feel free to hit that subscribe button. I've been Narked Tom, guys. I hope you have some safe and awesome dives, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.